Dad, tomorrow's dinner is off. Don't come. I'm Elias Thorne, 73 years old, a widower for 2 long years, and that's the story of how my life fell apart, and how I put it back together, piece by jagged piece. Those were the exact words my daughter Catalina used. The call came on a Thursday afternoon. I was in my small living room, the one I built with my own hands, watching the evening news. The phone rang, and I picked it up, expecting to confirm the details for the next day. Catalina, my dear, how are you? I'm fine, Dad, she said. Her voice was flat, like a sheet of ice. I'm calling to let you know. Tomorrow's dinner is off. Don't come. I felt the blood drain from my face. It wasn't just the words. It was the delivery. Dry, cold, with no explanation. No apology. As if she were canceling a dentist appointment. Not her husband's 50th birthday party. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. Canceled? I gripped the receiver. Is something wrong? Is Reese okay? He's fine, he's just unwell, she said. Unwell. A man who bragged about never taking a sick day in his life. We'll reschedule for another day, I have to go. Catalina, wait. But she didn't wait. As she was rushing to hang up, I heard it, clear as day in the background. Laughter. Not just a chuckle, but a full-on party laugh. I heard music, a bass line thumping. Who's there? I asked, my voice sharp. No one, Dad. I have to go. I'll call you next week. The line clicked dead. She hung up on me. I sat there, the phone still in my hand, the dial tone buzzing in my ear. A cold shiver ran down my spine. My late wife, Evelyn, always used to laugh at me for it. You have an old dog's nose, Elias, she'd say, tapping my head. You always sniff out trouble before it even starts. Evelyn, God rest her soul, had been gone for 2 years, and the silence in this house was a physical weight. That old dog's nose was telling me something was terribly wrong. Reese wasn't sick. My daughter was lying to me, and there were people at her house laughing. I replayed the conversation, the coldness, the rush, the laughter. That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat in my armchair, the one Evelyn had bought for my 60th, and stared at the dark walls, my mind racing. When Friday morning broke, I made my coffee, sat in my usual chair, and made a decision. Maybe I was just a crazy, lonely old man. Maybe I was imagining things. But I had to know the truth. I wasn't going to be dismissed like a child. I drove to the supermarket. I walked straight to the meat counter and bought the best cuts of beef. I bought beans, fresh peppers, onions, and my secret mix of spices. I was going to make my famous chili, the one Reese always begged for at family gatherings. I spent nearly $50 on those ingredients. It was money I couldn't really spare on my pension, but I'd always spent gladly when it came to family. After the store, I stopped at my old friend Felix's flower shop. Felix, I need a big arrangement, I said. Something bright. It's for Reese's birthday. Felix, a man I'd known for 30 years, paused, shears in hand. Elias, I thought, didn't you say Catalina was acting strange yesterday? She was, I said, pulling out my wallet. She canceled, said he was sick. Felix looked at me, his eyes full of concern. He knew me too well. And you're bringing chili and flowers to a sick man's canceled party? I have a hunch, Felix. He shook his head slowly, clipping the stems. That'll be $30. Be careful, Elias. Sometimes it's better not to peel back the wallpaper. You might not like what's underneath. I went home. I put on my best white shirt, the last one Evelyn ever gave me. I put on my good dress pants. I loaded the heavy pot of chili and the bright flowers into my old pickup truck, the one I'd used for my construction business for 40 years. I drove through the streets of Santa Barbara, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. I thought about all the birthdays, all the holidays, all the laughter. I had always been welcome. What had changed? I arrived at their neighborhood, an upscale place I'd helped them afford the down payment for, at 7 o'clock, the exact time the dinner was supposed to start. I parked down the street. I didn't even have to get close. The street was packed. There were cars everywhere, cars I knew. My son, Marcus, his big black SUV was parked right near the driveway. My sister, Sylvia, her little blue sedan was 3 cars down. My old friend, Bryce, his beat-up Toyota. They were all here. My heart didn't just sink, it shattered. I sat in my truck, the smell of the chili filling the cab, and I knew with absolute certainty that my daughter had lied to my face. I grabbed the pot of chili, wincing as the heat seared my hand through the towel. I grabbed the flowers. I slowly walked up the brick pathway I had laid myself 5 years ago. Every step felt like walking on broken glass. The music was loud now, thumping through the walls. The laughter was bright and clear. It was a full-blown party. I stopped at the front door, a heavy oak door. I remembered the weekend I spent hanging and varnishing it, my back aching, while Reese watched me, drinking a beer. I had fixed their plumbing, painted their walls, installed their light fixtures. My hands had built a part of the happiness that was being celebrated inside that house, and I was on the outside, like a beggar. I took a deep breath. I knocked. The music quieted. I heard footsteps, then Catalina's voice, muffled. "Who is it?" "It's me, Catalina," I called out. "It's your dad." Silence. A thick, heavy silence that lasted an eternity. I heard frantic whispers. "What's he doing here?" "I told him not to come." Finally, the lock clicked. The door opened a crack, then wider. Catalina stood there, a forced plastic smile on her face. She was wearing a beautiful new blue dress, her makeup perfect, diamond earrings sparkling. She had dressed up for a party that didn't exist. "Dad, what are you doing here?" Her voice trembled. Her eyes darted over my shoulder, refusing to meet mine. She had that same look she got as a kid, right after she'd told a lie about her homework. "I came to wish Reese a happy birthday," I said, holding up the pot. "I brought my chili, and these." "But Dad, I told you. It was canceled. Reese he's really sick." As if on cue, as if fate itself wanted to call her a liar, a loud, booming laugh echoed from the living room. "Another round! Who needs another round?" It was Reese, his unmistakable, healthy, arrogant laugh. Catalina's face went from pale to beet red. She was caught. Completely and utterly caught. "Sick, huh?" I said, my voice dangerously quiet. "He sounds terrible. Dad, it's complicated." "Complicated? What's complicated, Catalina?" I pushed the door open, stepping past her into the entryway. What I saw broke my heart. The living room was full, 20, maybe 30 people. Gold balloons spelling out 50 hung from the ceiling. A long table was overflowing with food I didn't recognize. A massive chocolate cake sat on the counter. Gifts were piled high in a corner, and everyone was there. My whole life. My son, Marcus, my sister, Sylvia, my friends. All of them, frozen, staring at me as if I were a ghost. In the center of the room, holding a glass of red wine and wearing a brand new shirt, was Reese. He didn't look sick. He looked better than ever. A deathly silence fell over the room. The music was still playing softly, but no one spoke. Marcus was the first to move. He walked over, his face a mask of guilt. "Dad, what are you doing here? What am I doing here?" I looked him dead in the eye. "What are you doing here? Catalina told me the party was canceled." "She did? Oh, I just thought you were running late. You know how you are." A lie. A pathetic, clumsy lie. I was never late. I was always the first to arrive, to help set up. My sister Sylvia approached, wringing her hands. "Elias, hello. We weren't expecting you." "You weren't expecting me," I repeated, letting the words hang in the air. At my own son-in-law's 50th birthday party. Reese, the birthday boy, just stood there, swirling his wine, watching the scene with a small, detached smirk, as if this were all just entertainment for him. I was numb. I walked past them and placed the heavy pot of chili on the main food table, right next to a tray of fancy appetizers. I set the flowers down beside it. Everyone watched me like I had just placed a live bomb on the table. "I brought my chili," I announced to the silent room. "Reese's favorite." No one said a word. The tension was so thick I could barely breathe. And then, my eyes scanned the room and landed on the gift table. Amid the brightly colored bags and bows, I saw something that chilled me to the bone. On top of a large, flat gift, someone had tossed a small pile of receipts, and holding them down was my credit card, the one I had given Catalina last month. "Catalina," I said, my voice flat. "Isn't that my card?" She followed my gaze. Her face went white. "Dad, yes. It's just, we were going to pay for everything as a surprise for Reese, and you used my card? Without asking me?" The silence in the room was deafening. Reese finally decided to speak, sauntering over with that smug grin still on his face. "Elias, don't make a scene. It's fine. We'll reimburse you for everything." "Reimburse me? Reimburse me for what?" Catalina looked at Reese, her eyes wide with panic, silently begging him to shut up. "Oh, you know," Reese said, waving his glass dismissively. "The dinner, the drinks, some of the gifts. Just small things." "How much?" I demanded. Catalina and Reese looked at each other. "Dad, it doesn't matter." "It matters to me, Catalina. How much?" She looked at the floor, her voice a tiny whisper. About $800. $800. Almost 2 months of my pension. 2 months of my savings, spent on a party they had explicitly banned me from. "So let me get this straight," I said, my voice rising. "You excluded me from the party, but you made sure to include my money." The words hit the air like bullets. Marcus stepped forward, trying to play peacemaker. "Dad, it's not what you think. It's not like that." "Not what I think?" I spun on him. "Then what is it, Marcus? Explain it to me." I gestured to the entire room. "Explain the lies. Explain the party. Explain my credit card paying for it." "It's just, we thought," Marcus stammered, looking to Reese for help. "We thought maybe you'd be bored, that the music would be too loud for you." Bored. Too loud. They were treating me like an invalid, like a piece of old furniture that didn't match the new decor. My sister Sylvia tried to put her hand on my arm. "Elias, please don't get upset. Sit down. Let's all just have some of your chili and—" "No." My voice was firmer than it had been in years. It cut through the room. "I'm not going to sit down. I'm not going to eat. and I am not staying. I walked over to the gift table. I plucked my credit card from the pile of receipts. I slid it into my wallet. "Enjoy your party," I said, looking at each of them in turn. My daughter, my son, my sister, my friends. I turned to Reese. "Enjoy my party." I walked to the front door, opened it, and stepped out into the cool night air. I closed the door behind me, but I didn't leave. I stood there in the yard, under the porch light I had installed. I looked at the house, and as I stood there, I heard the volume of the music creep back up. I heard a nervous titter, then a full-blown laugh. They were celebrating again. My exit had been a brief, uncomfortable interruption, and now the party could resume, as if I had never been there, as if I didn't matter. Anger boiled in my veins. But it wasn't a hot, blind anger. It was a cold, sharp, calculated anger. The kind that had helped me run a business for 40 years. The kind that helped me read blueprints and build foundations that lasted. I was going to teach them a lesson. I was going to tear their comfortable, deceitful world down to the studs. I walked back to my truck, the smell of chili still clinging to my clothes. I sat in the driver's seat, but I didn't start the engine. I took out my cell phone. It was 8:00 p.m. I knew the bank's automated fraud line was open 24/7. I dialed. "To report a lost or stolen card," the automated voice chirped. "Press 3. I pressed 3. "Your card has been reported stolen and is now temporarily blocked. All pending charges will be declined. To reactivate, please visit your local branch with official identification." Perfect. $800 in purchases. All of them, from the liquor store to the caterer to the gift shop, were going to bounce. Hard. But that was just the beginning. I dialed my next number. "Felix? It's Elias. Listen, I need you to do me a favor. That flower arrangement I bought today, I need you to cancel the payment." "Cancel it? Elias, what happened? Are you okay?" "I'm fine, Felix. Better than fine. But they didn't deserve those flowers. Can you do it?" "Yeah, since you paid with a card just this afternoon, I can void the transaction. But buddy, I'll explain tomorrow, Felix, thank you." I hung up and called the butcher. Cancelled. The specialty grocer where I bought the peppers. Cancelled. One by one, I clawed back every cent I had spent on a celebration that had been denied to me. I drove home. The house was quiet, empty. But it was honest, which was more than I could say for that party full of lies. I sat in my armchair, Evelyn's armchair, and pulled out my old, worn address book. I found the number for Mr. Morrison, Frederick Morrison, my lawyer for 20 years. It was 9:30 p.m., but I knew Frederick was a night owl. He picked up on the second ring. "Elias, it's late for you, my friend. Everything all right?" "Frederick," I said, my voice steady. "I need to see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. I need to change my will." There was a pause on the other end. "Elias, did something happen with Catalina and Marcus?" "Something happened, Frederick. Something that opened my eyes. I'm making substantial changes, very substantial." "I'll see you at 10, he said, his voice all business. The next morning, I was up at 6. I made my coffee, read the paper, and by 9:30 I was in my truck. But I didn't drive to the lawyer's office. Not yet. I drove to Catalina's neighborhood. The scene was exactly what I'd hoped for. The yard was a mess of balloons and streamers. And on the front porch, Reese was screaming into his cell phone, his face purple with rage. Catalina was sitting on the steps, sobbing, her makeup from the night before smeared down her face. I parked across the street, rolled down my window, and just watched. Reese hung up the phone, or threw it. I couldn't tell. He turned and yelled something at Catalina, something I couldn't hear, but the force of it made her flinch. Then Catalina saw me. Her eyes met mine through the windshield. Her expression crumpled from sadness to pure, abject fear. She pointed at my truck. Reese spun around. When he saw me, his face contorted. He stormed off the porch and marched into the street toward my truck, his fists clenched. I rolled the window down all the way and waited. "Elias, what did you do?" he yelled, not even bothering with a greeting. "Good morning, Reese. Feeling better? That sickness you had last night seems to have cleared up." "Don't play dumb with me," he spat, gripping the edge of my truck door. "Why did you cancel the payments? The caterer just called, screaming. The liquor store is threatening to call the police. You made us look like fools." "I don't know what you're talking about, Reese," I said, putting on my most innocent face. "The card. You canceled the card." "Oh, that. Yes. I reported it stolen, because as it turns out, it was. You did this on purpose." "The only mistake," I said, my voice as hard as concrete, "was my mistake. Thinking I was still your family." I rolled up my window, cutting off his next curse. I started the engine and drove away, leaving him standing there, sputtering in the street. I arrived at Mr. Morrison's office at 10 o'clock sharp. "Elias," he said, ushering me in. "You look determined." "I am, Frederick. I want Catalina removed from the will. Completely." He sat back, steepling his fingers. "That's a drastic step, Elias. Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure. They see me as a bank, Frederick, an open wallet, not a father. Her share, everything that was supposed to go to her. I want it to go to charity. Find me a senior center, someplace that actually values old people." "St. Jude's Senior Center," he said immediately. "Good people. My wife volunteers there." "Perfect. Give it all to them. That $200,000, all of it." "And Marcus?" he asked, already taking notes. "Marcus, his share is conditional. He lied to my face. He stood there and watched it happen. His inheritance depends entirely on his behavior from this day forward. If he defends her, he gets nothing too." I signed the preliminary documents. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders I hadn't known I was carrying. I spent the afternoon at home. At 4 p.m. my phone rang. It was Marcus. "Dad, can I come over? We need to talk." "The door's open," I said, and hung up. He arrived 20 minutes later, looking like he hadn't slept. He sat on the sofa opposite my armchair, the same sofa he'd grown up on. "Dad, Catalina is a wreck. Robert is furious. You've got to fix this." "Fix this? I didn't break this, Marcus. You all did." "I know, but, Dad, you have to understand. Ever since Mom died, you've been a little clingy." Clingy. The word hit me like a physical blow. My desire to be with my family, my own children, after losing my wife of 48 years, was clingy. "You always want to be at every gathering," he continued, digging the hole deeper. "You call all the time. You're just always there." "I see," I said. My voice was hollow. "So this party, this whole lie, it was to get a break from your clingy old father." Marcus had the decency to look ashamed. He looked at his feet. It was Reese's idea, mostly. "Reese." "Yeah," he said. "He said you criticize everything he does, that you just bring the party down. talking about the good old days, talking about Mom. So that was it. My grief was an inconvenience. My memories were a party foul. And you, Marcus? You agreed with him? I didn't want to cause trouble, Dad. It's his birthday. Right, I said, standing up. It's his birthday, and you're my son. I think you should leave now, Marcus. He looked up, shocked. Dad, go. Go be with your sister. You all seem to be on the same page. Just go. He left, and I was alone again. Clingy. A burden. On Monday morning, I drove to the St. Jude's Senior Center. It was a modest building, but clean. The director, a woman in her 50s named Ms. Roth, greeted me with a warm, genuine smile. Mr. Thorne, it's a pleasure. Your lawyer mentioned you were interested in our work. I am, I said. But first, I'd like to see the place. See how you treat the people here. She gave me a full tour. The rooms were small, but immaculate. The dining hall smelled of fresh bread. In a sunny courtyard, a group of residents were playing checkers, laughing. The staff called everyone by their first name. They were treated with dignity. How many residents do you have? I asked. We have capacity for 60, she said, her smile fading a little. But we can only afford to house 40. We do what we can with donations, but it's a struggle. I had heard all I needed. We went back to her office. Ms. Roth, I want to make a donation, a significant one, but it must be kept anonymous, a secret, until I say so. How significant are we talking, Mr. Thorne? $200,000. Ms. Roth's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes filled with tears. Mr. Thorne, that would change everything. We could open the new wing. We could take in 20 more people. That's what I want, I said. My lawyer, Mr. Morrison, will handle the details. As I left the center, I felt at peace for the first time in days. I turned my phone back on. It exploded. 17 missed calls, 11 text messages. Catalina. Dad, please answer. The vendors are calling. They're threatening to sue. Marcus. Dad, what did you do? Robert is going crazy. Sylvia. Elias, your children are hysterical. Call me immediately. Catalina. Dad, I went to the bank. They said you reported the card stolen. Robert is furious. We owe $800. Marcus. Dad, Robert went to your house. Where are you? Catalina. Dad, if you don't answer, I'm calling the police. This isn't funny. I smiled. Oh, I thought it was pretty funny. I dialed Marcus. Dad, where are you? We've been trying to reach you all morning. I'm fine, Marcus. I was handling some personal business. Personal business? Dad, the vendors are threatening to sue Catalina and Robert for the $800. And what does that have to do with me? I didn't authorize those expenses. I wasn't at that party. It's not my problem. But Dad, it's $800. They don't have that kind of money. Then maybe, I said, they should have thought of that before they threw a party they couldn't afford, and before they lied to me. Dad, you're ruining your own daughter's life. No, Marcus. I'm just letting her finally face the consequences of her choices. I hung up. When I pulled up to my house, Reese's expensive sedan was parked at my curb. He was standing in my front yard, pacing like a caged tiger. Elias, we need to talk. Now. Good morning, Robert, I said, walking past him to my front door. Still feeling under the weather? Stop playing games, he snapped, following me. Are you going to pay this $800 or not? Pay? I'm not paying a cent for a party I was banned from. Look, I know you're angry, he said, his voice changing, trying to be reasonable. But this is getting out of hand. They're talking about small claims court. It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing, I agreed, unlocking my door. He put his hand on my arm, trying to stop me. Elias, please. Catalina is devastated. She's your daughter. I stopped and turned to him. You're right, she is. But she stopped acting like it last Friday. His face hardened again, but then he tried a different tactic. Pleading. Elias, just help us this one last time. I promise, we'll pay you back. Every dollar. With what money, Reese? The money you don't have? Or with more of my credit cards? We'll find it, I swear. You know what, Reese? I'll make you an offer. His eyes lit up. Anything. Sell me your share of the house. His face fell. What? The house. I helped pay the down payment, remember? I have the receipts. Sell me your portion. You can use that money to pay your $800 debt. And the problem is solved. Elias, that's our home. It was your home when I was part of the family, I said. Now it's just an asset. Think about it. It's my only offer. I went inside and closed the door in his face. It didn't take long. Less than 2 hours later, a car screeched to a halt outside. Dad! Dad, come out here! I know you're in there! It was Catalina. She was screaming from the sidewalk. I looked through the blinds. She looked unhinged, her hair a mess, pounding on my front door with both fists. Dad! You can't do this! You can't take our house! My neighbors were coming out. Mrs. Gallo, next door, was standing on her porch, her arms crossed. It was a humiliating spectacle. My daughter, the one I had given everything to, making a scene like a lunatic. I opened the door. She practically fell inside, lunging at me, sobbing. Hey, Dad, please, you can't. Where will we live? What will happen to us? Her desperation was real, but I felt nothing. That automatic instinct to comfort her, to fix it, was gone. Something inside me had frozen solid. Reese followed her in, looking defeated. Dad, Robert told me your proposal, she wept. You can't be serious. I am completely serious, Catalina. But that's our home. We were going to have children there. A family, I said, my voice cold. That doesn't include me. Reese finally spoke. Elias, the house is worth a lot more than $800. You're trying to steal it from us. I'm not stealing anything. I'm offering you a solution to a problem you created. You should have thought about that before you spent $800 you didn't have. Dad, this isn't like you, she cried. You've always helped us. You've always been there. You're right, Catalina. I have. I walked over to my study. I opened the bottom drawer of my filing cabinet, and I pulled out a folder. I walked back to the living room and dumped the contents on the coffee table in front of them. It was a thick pile of receipts, invoices, and canceled checks. See this? I said, picking up the top one. Roof repair, your house. $4,000. This? Loan for your car, Catalina, when yours died. $8,000. This? Tires for your car, Reese. This? The loan for your honeymoon? I kept going, one by one. Here's $2,000 I lent you for that investment that disappeared, Reese. Here's $500 to cover your property taxes last year. They stared at the pile, horrified. It all adds up, I said, to $22,000. $22,000 I have lent, paid, and covered for you two in the last 3 years alone. Money you never paid back. Money you've forgotten about. Dad, Catalina whispered. We didn't know you were keeping track. I don't keep track, Catalina. I just keep receipts. But you know what I have kept track of? The number of times you've helped me since your mother died. I sat back down in my armchair and looked them both in the eye. Do you know what that number is? 0. Elias, that's not fair, Reese protested. You never ask for help. I shouldn't have to ask, I roared, slamming my fist on the arm of the chair. When Evelyn died, who do you think cleaned this house because I couldn't get out of bed? My sister, Sylvia. Who took me to the doctor when I thought my heart was giving out? My friend, Felix. Who brought me food for a week when I had the flu? Mrs. Gallo, my neighbor. You two were too busy to notice your clingy old father was drowning. Catalina's tears were different now. They weren't tears of panic. They were tears of shame. We didn't know, Dad. Of course you didn't know. You never asked. I stood up and walked to the door. You have 1 week. Find the 800. Or my lawyer proceeds with the lawsuit to recover my $22,000 investment in that house. I opened the door. Catalina walked out, sobbing. Reese stopped at the door. He looked at me, and for the first time I saw a flicker of something new in his eyes. Not just anger, respect, and fear. Elias, he said, this isn't over. You're right, Robert, I said. This is just the beginning. I closed the door. I immediately picked up my phone and dialed Mr. Morrison. Frederick, it's Elias. I need you to prepare those additional documents. What documents? The civil lawsuit to recover my $22,000 investment in Catalina's house. I want it filed in exactly 1 week if I don't receive payment. Elias, are you sure you want to sue your own daughter? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. The next few days were quiet, blissfully quiet. No calls, no frantic texts. Then, on Thursday morning, there was a knock. It was my sister, Sylvia. She was holding a bag of groceries. Elias, she said, her face serious. May I come in? She walked straight to my kitchen and started pulling out vegetables. Tomatoes, onions, peppers. You look terrible, she said, not looking at me. I'm making you breakfast. It's clear you're not eating. She was right. I'd been living on coffee and toast. Catalina came to see me yesterday, she said, chopping an onion with sharp, angry strokes. She wanted me to talk to you, to convince you to forgive them. And what did you tell her? I told her to get a job and stop bleeding her father dry. I was stunned. Sylvia, I thought you were on their side. You were at the party. She stopped chopping and finally looked at me, her eyes full of a strange mix of pity and frustration. Yes, Elias, I was, and I knew they told you not to come. You knew? And you didn't tell me? Because I thought Catalina had explained it properly. Robert told us. He said you've just been so melancholic since Evelyn died. He said he didn't want his 50th birthday to turn sad. He said you make everyone uncomfortable. Uncomfortable, melancholic. Sylvia, my wife died. Don't I have a right to miss her? Of course you do, she said, sitting down across from me. But Elias, we have a right not to carry your sadness all the time, too. You're not a burden, but you've become exhausting. Exhausting, clingy, a burden, my own sister. The words hurt more than the party, more than the lie, more than the $800. I see, I said, standing up and walking to the window. So everyone feels this way. Elias, no one wants to hurt you, but we also don't want every family dinner to turn into a therapy session about Evelyn. Mrs. Gallo, I said, staring at my neighbor watering her roses. She asks about Evelyn. She listens. She's not my family, but she treats me better. Because Mrs. Gallo doesn't have the responsibility of being your emotional support, Sylvia snapped. How many times have you called Catalina crying? How many times have you just shown up at Marcus's house because you're lonely? I had no answer, because she was right. I had. I didn't ask you to be my therapists, I whispered. I just asked you to be my family. And we tried, she said, her voice softening. But you're asking for more than they can give. Sylvia left after we ate in silence. I was left with her words ringing in my ears. Had I driven them to this? That afternoon, my phone rang. It was Catalina. Her voice was different, not hysterical, just broken. Dad, can we talk? Speak, Catalina. We got $400. Robert sold his motorcycle, and I pawned my engagement ring. I felt a small, sharp pang, but I crushed it. That's half. You have until Monday for the other half. I know. Dad, I want to apologize. For what specifically, Catalina? For everything. For the lie, for the money, for making you feel like you're not important. Are you saying this because you need the other 400 or because you mean it? There was a long pause. Both, she whispered, her honesty surprising me. Yes, I need your help. I'm terrified. But these last few days, not hearing from you, I realized how much I took you for granted. Catalina, I asked, do you think I'm a burden? What? Why would you ask that? Just answer me. No, Dad, you're not a burden. You're my dad. It's just, since Mom died, you've been so sad. And we didn't know how to fix it. Her words sounded sincere, but it was too late. The dominoes were already falling. I appreciate the apology, Catalina, but it doesn't change the consequences. What? What do you mean? You'll know soon enough. I'm still expecting the other $400. I hung up. I immediately called Mr. Morrison. Frederick, are the will documents finalized? Yes, Elias. Signed and notarized. Good. I want you to schedule a family meeting. My office, next Tuesday. I want Catalina, Marcus, and my sister Sylvia there. A meeting? To do what? To read them my new will. It's time they understood, in no uncertain terms, what the consequences of their actions look like. Elias, are you sure? This is a declaration of war. I'm sure, Frederick. It's time for the war to begin. What I didn't know was that my sister Sylvia had left my house and burst into tears in her car. Her own words, exhausting. Burden, echoed in her head. She had seen the look in my eyes when she said them. The look of a man who had just been abandoned by everyone he trusted. Guilt gnawed at her. She had been my big sister, my protector, for 70 years, and she had just allied herself with a fool like Reese. 2 days later, on Saturday, she was at the hardware store, and she saw him, Reese. He was in the checkout line, laughing with his friend, Bryce, the one who had also been at the party. I'm telling you, Bryce, Reese was bragging, it almost worked perfectly. The old man was supposed to get mad, Catalina was supposed to cry, and he was supposed to fold and pay for everything, like he always does. Who knew he'd go nuclear? Sylvia froze. She hid behind a display of power tools. This wasn't the story she'd been told. This wasn't about my melancholy. This was about money. She waited until Reese left, then immediately called my son. Marcus, it's your Aunt Sylvia. Listen to me very carefully. I was wrong. I was terribly wrong. That husband of your sister's, he's not just an idiot. He's a manipulator. I just overheard him. He's playing all of us. He's playing Catalina. Be careful, Marcus. Watch him. On Tuesday morning, the day of the scheduled will reading, my phone rang. It was Marcus. His voice was trembling. He sounded terrified. Dad, I need to see you right now. Not at the lawyer's office, at your house, alone. Marcus, what's wrong? You sound terrible. I am, Dad. Something awful has happened. It's worse than we thought. I'm coming over now. The line went dead. My blood ran cold. An hour later, Marcus burst through my front door. He was pale, sweating, and clutching his phone in his hand. Dad, you were right. You were right about all of it. What happened? Aunt Sylvia called me. She heard Reese bragging, said he'd set it all up. I knew it, I seethed. No, Dad, you don't understand. It's worse. He was pacing my living room, frantic. After she called, I couldn't sleep. I had to know. I drove to their house this morning. I was going to give Kat the last $100 I could scrounge, but when I got there, the door was ajar. Catalina's car was gone. He was alone? He was in the bathroom, with the door open, talking on the phone. He didn't hear me come in. Dad, I heard everything, and I recorded it. He held up his phone. Marcus, what did you hear? It was a trap, Dad. Just like Sylvia said. He told Catalina you were too fragile for the party, to get her to lie to you. The real plan was to max out your card on party supplies, let you discover the party, and then have Catalina break down and apologize. And I'd forgive her, I finished, the bile rising in my throat. I'd forgive her, and I'd pay the $800 just to make my little girl stop crying, like I always do. Yes, Marcus yelled. He was banking on it. He was bragging to someone on the phone about how he'd been setting this up for months, padding their expenses with your money. He called you his personal ATM. But you didn't fold, Marcus said, his eyes wide with a new, dark understanding. You canceled the card. You ruined his entire plan. So he was telling this person. He was activating Plan B. Plan B? What is Plan B? He's going to have Catalina sue you for psychological abuse and emotional blackmail. I stared at him. He's what? He said he'd use your loneliness against you. He said he'd get Aunt Sylvia and me to testify that you've become a burden and emotionally unstable since Mom died. He said he'd win, that a court would see you as a manipulative old man, and they'd get a huge settlement. Marcus fumbled with his phone. I got it, Dad. I got his voice. He pressed play. Reese's voice filled my quiet living room. Don't worry. If the old man won't pay the $800, he'll pay $80,000. Catalina just has to say he's been emotionally abusing her, demanding she be his nurse. We'll get Sylvia to back us up. She already thinks he's a basket case. It's a slam dunk. I felt the floor drop out from under me. He was going to use my grief for Evelyn against me. Before I could even process the recording, a car screeched to a halt outside. Reese's sedan. He must have seen Marcus's car. A second later, the front door burst open. Reese stood there, his face livid. I knew it! I knew you'd run to him! He screamed at Marcus. He looked at me. What did you tell him, you old fool? He saw the phone in Marcus's hand. He saw the recording app open on the screen. His eyes went wide with pure animal panic. You recorded me? Before we could react, Reese lunged. He was younger, faster. He shoved me hard. I fell backward, cracking my head on the edge of the coffee table. The room exploded in white stars. Dad! Marcus yelled. Marcus tried to block him, but Reese was desperate. He tackled Marcus, snatching the phone. Marcus grabbed for it, but Reese was a bull. He ripped it free and, with a roar, turned to my fireplace. He smashed the phone against the brick hearth. Once. Twice. He lifted it high and brought it down again and again, screaming, a rain of plastic and glass showering the floor. He didn't stop until the phone was nothing but a pile of shattered components. He stood there, panting, wild-eyed, his chest heaving, the proof. The only proof we had. It was gone. Destroyed. Reese pointed a trembling finger at me, still on the floor. You will pay for this. Both of you. He stormed out, slamming the door so hard a picture fell off the wall. Marcus rushed to my side. Dad, are you okay? Your head. I'm fine, I grunted, pushing his hand away, my head throbbing. The phone. It's gone. Dad, what do we do? It's his word against ours. He'll say we're lying. I sat there, breathing hard. The proof was gone. But the knowledge wasn't. He had overplayed his hand. He had shown me his final card. And now I knew exactly what I had to do. I had to know if my daughter was a victim or if she was his willing accomplice. I pulled myself up into my armchair. I took out my phone. We cancel the meeting with Morrison. Not yet. First, I find out the truth. I dialed Catalina's number. She answered, her voice small. Dad? Be at my house, 5 o'clock this afternoon. And Catalina? Come alone. Dad, what's wrong? You sound... 5 o'clock, I said, and hung up. Marcus was frantic. What's the plan? We have no proof. She'll just lie. She'll side with him. Maybe, I said, the throb in my head sharpening my thoughts. Maybe not. He destroyed the evidence, son. But he doesn't know what I know, and he doesn't know that you are here. What do I do? When she gets here, you are going to be in the kitchen. The door will be open a crack. You will not make a sound. You are not going to record. You are going to witness. I need to know the truth. I need to hear it from her. And what if she lies? Then, I said, my heart feeling like a stone, I'll know I don't have a daughter anymore. At 5 o'clock on the dot, she knocked. She looked nervous, her eyes red-rimmed and fearful. She came in looking around. Where's Marcus? His car is here. He went for a walk, I lied. Sit down, Catalina. We need to talk about Robert. Her face tensed. What about him? I wasn't going to waste time. I looked her dead in the eye. Was it Robert's idea to exclude me from the party? She flinched. She looked at her hands. Dad, the truth, Catalina. The whole truth. Now. Yes, she whispered. It was his idea. And why did you agree? Why did you lie to me? Because he told me it would be better for you. He said parties. They just make you sad. They make you miss Mom. He said I was protecting you. Protecting me. By lying to me. I don't know, Dad. You do get sad. And I didn't want... I'm a grown man, Catalina. I can manage my own grief. Now the second question, and you will not lie to me. I leaned forward. Has Robert suggested that you accuse me of psychological abuse? Her face went completely white. It was the color of chalk. What did you say? You heard me. Has your husband told you to accuse me, your father, of emotional abuse to get money from me? She stared at me, her mouth open, but no sound came out. Answer me, Catalina. He mentioned it, she finally choked out. Last night, he was so angry about the money, about the house. He said if you didn't help, we could say you've been emotionally blackmailing us since Mom died. And what did you say? I whispered, my heart hammering. I told him he was crazy, she burst out, the tears finally coming. I told him you would never do that you've been the best dad in the world. And what did he say to that? He told me to think about it. He said it was our only way out. He said you owed us. I got up from my chair and stood over her. Catalina, answer me from your heart. Do you believe I have abused you? No, Dad, no, never. Then why didn't you call me? Why didn't you warn me that your husband was planning to destroy me? Because I'm scared, she wailed, her voice cracking. I'm scared of him. He gets so angry. He controls all the money. I didn't know what to do. I closed my eyes. She wasn't an accomplice. She was a victim, just like me. At that moment, the kitchen door swung open. Marcus stood there, his face like thunder. Catalina screamed, Marcus, you were here? You planned this. We're discovering the truth, Catalina, I said. The truth about the man you married. He's a manipulator, Cat, Marcus said, his voice raw. He's been using you to get to Dad's money from the start. I didn't know, she sobbed. Maybe not, Marcus said. But now you do, and you have to choose. You have to choose right now. Him or us. Choose? She cried. What do you mean? He's my husband, but when you're my family. You can't have both, I said. Not anymore. Not after this. But if I leave him, I have nothing. I have nowhere to go. You'll come here, I said, the words coming out before I'd even thought them. You'll come home, to the house you grew up in. You'll always be welcome here. Seriously? She whispered. Completely. But with one condition. You break it off. Now. You have no more contact with him. You file for divorce. And you start a new life. Without him. As if summoned, Catalina's phone rang, vibrating loudly on the coffee table. The screen lit up. RHYS. She looked at it, then at me, her eyes wide with terror. Answer it, I said, and put it on speakerphone. Her hand trembled as she picked it up. Hello? Catalina, where are you? I got home and you're gone. I thought we were having dinner. His voice was smooth, manipulative. I'm at my dad's house. The smoothness vanished. What are you doing there? I told you to stay away from him. Get out of there right now, Catalina. Those people are brainwashing you. Those people, she said, her voice shaking but finding a new strength, are my family. I'm your family, Cat. I'm your husband. Now come home. My family is the one who loves me, Robert, she said, her voice getting stronger. The one who doesn't ask me to betray my own father. Kimberly, my love, he tried, changing tactics. Come home. We can fix this. Just you and me. Like always. No, Robert. What? What did you say? I'm not coming home. And we're not fixing anything. Catalina, if you hang up this phone, if you walk out on me, you are not to come back. Do you understand me? It's over. That's fine, Robert, she said. I don't want to come back. She hung up the phone, and then she collapsed, her body racked with deep, gut-wrenching sobs. Michael rushed to her, pulling her into a hug. I walked over and put my hand on her head, stroking her hair, just like I did when she was a little girl who'd fallen off her bike. You did it, my dear, I said, my own voice thick. You just did the bravest thing you've ever done. Now what, Dad? She wept into Marcus's shoulder. What's going to happen? Now, I said, you're going to stay here, in your old room. And tomorrow morning, the three of us, we're going to Mr. Morrison's office. Marcus looked at me, The will reading? No, I said. Not anymore. We're going to sign some new documents. Documents that will fix this once and for all. That night, for the first time in 2 long years, my house wasn't empty. Catalina was in her old room. Marcus was asleep on the sofa. We were a family again, broken, but together. The next morning, we sat in Mr. Morrison's plush office. Catalina was nervous. Marcus was curious. I was calm. "Good morning, Thompson family," Mr. Morrison said, a small smile on his face. He had a pile of documents in front of him. "Elias, do you want to explain?" I turned to my children. "This week I made some decisions. Decisions born from anger and betrayal. Catalina, I have to be honest with you. I had you completely removed from my will." Her face went pale. "Dad, I was going to donate your entire $200,000 inheritance to the St. Jude's Senior Center. I thought I had lost you." "Oh, Dad," she whispered, tears welling up. "But yesterday," I continued, "yesterday you chose. You chose family. You chose truth. You showed me you are the daughter I raised. So this morning, Mr. Morrison and I tore up that old will." Mr. Morrison slid a new document across the table. "We've made some last-minute changes." "Marcus," I said, "your full share of the inheritance is restored. You were loyal to this family." He smiled, and I clapped him on the shoulder. "Catalina," I said, "your full share is also restored, but with conditions." She nodded, wiping her eyes. "Anything, Dad." "First, the divorce from Robert is finalized. You never contact him again. Second, you live with me in my house until you are back on your feet. Third, you use part of this inheritance to get an education, a degree, so you never ever have to depend financially on a man like him again." "I accept, Dad," she said, sobbing. "I accept all of it." "There is a fourth condition," I said, a small smile touching my lips. "What?" "That on Sundays we cook your mother's recipes. All of us, together, to remember her the right way." "I accept," she laughed through her tears. As we were picking up the pens to sign, Mr. Morrison's private line rang. He looked at the caller ID and frowned. "I don't recognize this number." He answered, "Frederick Morrison." He listened for a moment, his face darkening. "I see. Yes, he is. One moment." He pressed the speakerphone button. "Elias, it's for you, an attorney Jacobs. He says he represents Mr. Robert Holloway." We all froze. "This is Attorney Jacobs." A slick, confident voice filled the room. "Mr. Thorne, I am calling to inform you that we will be filing a lawsuit against you and your daughter, Ms. Thorne, for psychological harm and emotional blackmail." Catalina gasped. "My client," the voice continued, "is prepared to testify to the systematic abuse he and his wife have suffered at your hands. We also have witnesses, including your own sister, who will attest to your emotional instability. Furthermore, we will be suing for the $800 in damages from the birthday party, plus punitive damages." I looked at Catalina. I looked at Marcus. I saw their fear, and my own cold, calculated anger returned. The proof was gone. Reese had smashed it, but this lawyer didn't know that. I leaned toward the phone. "Mr. Jacobs, this is Elias Thorne." "Mr. Thorne, I suggest you have your lawyer." "I'm going to stop you right there, Mr. Jacobs," I said, my voice as calm and cold as a winter morning. "You're going to hang up the phone, and you're going to tell your client he has made a fatal, life-altering mistake. I beg your pardon. We are not intimidated by..." You seem to be under the impression that we are unaware of your client's Plan B. You're wrong. There was a half-second of silence. I don't know what you're referring to. Oh, I think you do, I said, letting a smile touch my voice. You see, Mr. Jacobs, we have a full, unedited audio recording of your client, Mr. Holloway, detailing his entire plan. A plan to commit perjury. A plan to file a false report. A plan to defraud the court. I believe the term for what he was planning is conspiracy. Catalina and Marcus were staring at me, stunned. That's a baseless accusation, Jacobs blustered, but the confidence was gone from his voice. Is it? We also have witnesses to his long-term financial and psychological manipulation of my daughter, who, by the way, is sitting right here and will be testifying against your client. Now, here's what's going to happen, I continued, pressing the advantage. My lawyer, Mr. Morrison, who I believe you're on the phone with, has just prepared a civil lawsuit against your client to recover $22,000 in personal loans and investments I made in his house, all of which I have receipts for. Furthermore, we are filing federal charges for credit card fraud for the unauthorized use of my card. So you tell your client he has 24 hours to vacate the property, my daughter's property. After that, we will add trespassing and forcible eviction to the list. Am I clear? The line was dead silent. I could hear the faint sound of the lawyer breathing. He knew his client was toxic. He knew he had been caught. Mr. Thorne, he finally stammered. Perhaps, given this new information, perhaps we can settle this. My client would be amenable. No, I said. There will be no settlement. Your client had his chance. He chose this path. You just tell him to prepare for the consequences. I reached over and ended the call. The room was silent. Dad, Marcus said, his voice full of awe. The recording. Reese smashed the phone. It's gone. I know, I said, picking up the pen to sign the new will. Reese knew it. I knew it. But that lawyer didn't. Catalina looked at me, a new admiration in her eyes. You bluffed. I used the truth, my dear. He was guilty. He just didn't know we couldn't prove it. I signed my name. Now, Mr. Morrison, about that donation to St. Jude's. Dad, no, Catalina said. You put me back in the will. You don't have to. I know. The donation is still happening, but it's not coming from your inheritance. It's coming from Robert's. How? When we sell that house, my $22,000 comes off the top. The rest will be split in the divorce. And Robert's half? It's going to be donated directly to the St. Jude's Senior Center, so other seniors don't have to go through what I did. 3 months later, my life was unrecognizable. Reese, facing a mountain of lawsuits and evidence of fraud, lost the house. He had to pay a fine for the false legal claims, and last I heard, was under investigation for other investments he'd managed. Catalina was living in her old room. She'd enrolled in a community college program for business management. She was working part-time at Felix's flower shop. She was lighter, happier than I'd seen her in years. Sylvia had apologized, with tears in her eyes. She had come over and admitted that my grief wasn't a burden. Their selfishness was. She and Marcus were at my house every Sunday. We'd cook. We'd put on Evelyn's old music. We'd tell stories. We'd laugh. I learned something from all this. I learned that respect isn't something you beg for. It's something you demand. I learned that family isn't just about who shares your blood. It's about who shares your values. And I learned that it is never, ever too late to teach people, even the people you love, exactly how you deserve to be treated. My revenge wasn't perfect because it was cruel. It was perfect because it was just. And that's why, for the first time in 2 long years, I sleep soundly every single night. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from, or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.